Hi there and welcome back to Amplify, the digital marketing entrepreneur podcast. I'm Bob Gentle and every week I'm joined by creators, consultants and practitioners who share what makes their business work. Whether you run your own business or you're just thinking of stepping out on your own for the first time, you're in the right place. If you're new to the show, then welcome along. Just take a second now to subscribe in your podcast player so you don't miss new episodes, and you can dig into some older ones when you finish this one. If it's your first time joining us, then join our Facebook group. Just visit the shortcut URL amplifyme.fm/insiders and you'll be right there. So who are you and what do you do? It's a question which can trigger a mental tailspin, and if you struggle to stand out, then maybe you need to think about picking a niche. It's hard to be everyone's favourite, and niching down can trigger a lot of doubt, anxiety and resistance. This week my guest is Amy Caiger, and Amy helps business owners work through the process of working out who they want to be and who they're for. So welcome along and let's meet Amy. So this week on the podcast, my guest is Amy Caiger. Amy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks Bob. Thanks for having me.
Do you want to start maybe just by telling us a little bit about who you are, where you are and the kind of work you do?
Yeah, so I'm based in London, but I work with people all over. So I am a brand and marketing strategist, and I specialise in helping predominantly solopreneurs get really clear on their niche, which is all about what makes them stand out, what makes them different, why would somebody choose them over one of their competitors or something or someone else. And it's getting clear on what that thing is and then how they can amplify that in their marketing, how they can really get clear on what it is their customers want, and using the right language and communication to really connect with their customers so that they, as soon as they come across their business, their customer will know this is exactly what I want, this is what I need, this is the right person for me, and choose them over to somebody else.
Now, anybody listening to the show will know I love niching, and for the Americans listening to the show, it's niching. Niching is niching. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's true.
With niching, the way I've seen it in the past, you can do it in one of a few ways. You can do it in terms of a technical discipline. You can do it in terms of a geography. So I just work with companies or businesses in this area, or you can do it in a vertical market. And I think also more and more you can niche in terms of yourself. So I work with companies who get me, I guess would be another way of doing it. So what's your philosophy on niching? I'm confused now, niching. And I guess how have you done it yourself?
Yeah, so that's absolutely right. I think a lot of people come to me initially, or that they're really, really worried that they don't have a specific person that they work with. I think people's go-to thoughts on niching is they need to have a super, pinpointed, precise customer, and it doesn't need to be that at all. That can be an element. If you know that you work with, gym instructors who have a membership and their focus is on getting healthy or something, you have a real precise customer, but it doesn't have to be that at all. You can still have a really strong niche but still work with corporates and small businesses or all sorts of different types of business owners. The areas that you can niche in are customers, as I've said, or it can be what you do. So it might be actually what you actually do is different. So you can niche down in the type of job or role that you do. So for instance, if you do marketing, obviously marketing is, you could do all sorts of different things, but actually you might specialize in doing SEO. So that's your thing, that's what people will know you for. You become the expert in your field in SEO. Or it could be that you do things a little bit different. So actually how you present your offering might be different to other people. So you just give a bit of a different spin on it. You might do it in a way you feel is better or hasn't been done before. So that will make you stand out and why someone might want to choose you. Or as you said, it could actually be just down to the kind of personality or the values of the business, or if you're a personal brand of you, and people will like that because you are a bit different. They feel they resonate with you, same way as you would if you met someone at a party or something. You would gravitate towards each other because you had similar interests, or you felt they got you, or whatever. So it could be all sorts of different things, and it's just thinking about what it is that makes you and your business different, and amplifying that and making more of it.
Well, we can dig into that a little bit in a minute, as to how you actually work through that process with people. But I'm curious, because you spend your time with people doing these things, what kind of impact that subsequently has on their ability to scale? Because I think there may be a correlation there.
Definitely. So I think in terms of, from their point of view, they feel obviously a lot clearer in what they're doing, so they are then more confident. So I think that automatically helps in just making decisions for their business. They know it's the right one. Kind of, you stop that procrastination, that getting in your head, putting things off, thinking about things too much, because you know what you're doing, and you're, for yourself, you're on your own path, you know exactly what it is you're doing. But in terms of how it can grow your business, it, you know, if you start to become known as the expert of that particular thing that you're doing, then that can lead to obviously more clients, because people will know that's what you do and that's what they want help with. But it can also lead to people wanting you to be on podcasts or speaking gigs, so therefore you're elevating your expert status as well, because you become that go-to person in your field because you are known for what you're doing.
One of the problems that I potentially see with this process is the more you hone in on a niche and claim it, the more potential there is for things like imposter syndrome and comparison to creep in. Is that something that you find clients struggle with?
Maybe more towards the beginning, when we are getting clearer. So it might be that they've done a few sorts of things and they want to focus on one element now, because that's what they're enjoying more, where they feel they're giving their clients most value, where they see their business headed. And I think then sometimes it's harder for them to maybe let go of things they don't want to do anymore, or kind of more of their old business model, as it were. But I think once they've got clear on it and they start to realise this is what they want to do, and they're getting good feedback from it and things, I think then it isn't quite such of a scary jump. But what I always say with niching is that you should always do it in stages. It shouldn't be a kind of, you're at the very start to finish to a super, niched business where you've got your client niched, your what you do niched, your kind of visual identity and everything really, really niched. You should do it in stages. And I think if you then do it in stages, it's not as scary, because what you're basing each step, each stage on, is what's working in your business. So you're focusing more each time on what is working and doing more of that, and getting kind of rid of the bits that not necessarily aren't working as well, but that you can then focus more on the things that you're wanting to do going forward in that particular path. And so it is more of an organic process. It shouldn't necessarily be a big, massive jump and a leap to something into the unknown, because you should have the stats, as it were, to back it up on actually, so if you were to start focusing on a particular client, it might be that you start to notice that more and more of this type of person is who you're working with. So you go, actually, I'm going to focus more on that person, or I'm going to reach out to more of that type of person. Or if it's that you decide to focus on a certain element of your business, the SEO example, for instance, it might be that it's because you've started working more on SEO with a certain client. So you work more SEO in particular clients, and your other aspects of your business you maybe haven't been doing quite so much recently. So then you think, actually, yes, SEO is what I love, want to do, and I'm going to focus on that as you go forward.
And I think alongside that, when you are sort of deciding, okay, I'm going to go into this niche, or I'm going to specialize in this area, as solopreneurs and small business owners, our own identity is quite well bonded to our business identity. And that's probably another very good reason why you shouldn't make a massive change into a niche too quickly, because we can't change our identities that quickly. It won't be true or congruent to us. And I guess that's where the imposter syndrome can creep in. I hadn't looked at it from that perspective before.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing. I think when it's you and your business, and everything is quite personal as well, isn't it? So it's very much you, even though you're obviously meant to separate your business from yourself, you get very tangled up in it. So I think, as you said, that kind of imposter syndrome of maybe, I'm not an expert in that area yet, or, those sorts of things kind of creep in, or especially if it's more your personality based, that if you are a personal brand, then you are the face of your business and you are much more at the forefront of it, rather than you kind of can't hide behind logos and faceless kind of things of your business. It's it can happen that way, but I think when I work with people, that I'm that extra bit of help, of reassurance of, yes, you can do it, this is the right decision, because I'm completely not emotionally involved at all. I'm just looking at the facts of their business of, this is clearly the area you should be going in, because of all this other great stuff that you're already doing. It's not as I say, it's not making up something or picking something out of thin air of, I think you should do this now, and you're kind of thinking, well, I've never done that before, how am I going to do that? It is working with what you've got and just honing it and making it, it's like each time you hone it, you're getting that little bit better, and that's where you become known in that thing, but also where you become the expert in that thing as well, because it is what you know so well.
And is there also a perspective where you would say that you really need to niche almost in direct proportion to your audience size? Because if you are sort of really honing in on, I work with left-handed hairdressers, for example, it's a very specific, tiny niche. If you live in a small village and you're not active online, you will have no customers. So does the niching work better the larger your audience is? I think it's probably a virtuous circle. With the bigger you build your audience and the more niche you become, the more you speak to that specific audience. I'm rambling a little bit, but you know where I'm going.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's why it's so important that you niche like based on what's happened before. And also, if it was that you were starting in a business and you brand new and you thought, yes, left-handed hairdressers in my local area, that's what I want to do. It's actually looking at, as you would kind of, I guess, with any business model, you see if there is clients there. So you wouldn't necessarily start off with a super niche, especially if you hadn't had any clients before. It's always good if you're kind of day one of your business is to try out lots of different things. This is when it's not such a bad idea if you say, using the marketing example again, you did all sorts of different types of marketing, because it might be there's a particular element in that works for you and that you feel you give the most value and that your clients are really loving. Or it could be the same with clients. So it might be that, rather than going so niche straight away, you decide to work with all sorts of hairdressers all over the country, and then it might be that you can niche over time. You can get more specific, rather than trying to start off with something that's so specific that people don't know about you yet. There might not even be an audience. But saying that, you could have a really, really niche business if the audience is there. So I'm sure there's lots of businesses where they're focusing on a real kind of cult industry, as it were, that to the general person wouldn't have heard of, but in their little world there is a lot of people who are really into that thing for their product, and it works really well because they know that area really, really well. And I think that's maybe something else to think about. If it's an area that you know well, if it's something you've come from, for instance, if you were a left-handed hairdresser and you felt that there wasn't enough support for left-handed hairdressers, and you knew there was lots of other left-handed hairdressers, then that's slightly different. But if you're not knowing your customer that well straight away, it's best to be a bit more general, and you can niche as you go. And you can niche as quick or as slow, it's just getting, as I say, it's kind of getting that, the backing of already happening.
Yeah. Apologies to any left-handed hairdressers listening. So within the sort of freelancer, entrepreneur, solopreneur space, I think there's a lot of scope for niching, and certainly the more you niche, somebody to go, I want you. So what sort of process do you take people through? I know you have a few different ways that people can engage with you, but I imagine you walking them through a similar process, just with differing degrees of intimacy.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the first thing is very much getting clear on why they're different, and people can be at different stages of this. Some people might just think they're not different at all. Some of my clients have a bit of an idea, but they're, as we were talking about earlier, maybe they're a little bit scared, or they're thinking, oh, I can't say I'm an expert in that because I'm not, because whatever reason they tell themselves is they're not, when they are. It's they're kind of forming an idea and they want a bit more clarity on that, or actually what is it. So that's the first place we always start, of actually, let's get a really good idea of your business at the moment. Kind of tell me everything that you've been doing. Tell me where you're thinking of going, all those kind of things. And it tends to come out quite organically, because I think when people are excited about a particular area of their business, or it's the bit they like the most or whatever, it tends to come out quite a lot. People don't talk about the bits of their business they don't want to do anymore, or that they want to change. They talk about the bits they're looking forward to. So that's kind of how it starts. And then from that, once we've got an idea of, okay, what is it that, in terms of your offering, what makes you different, we can then look at how their brand is going to stand out in terms of visual identity, or their personality, or what bits they're going to amplify. And a lot of that is looking at what maybe their clients have said about them. It's thinking about what other people are doing, and not necessarily getting obsessed with what other people are doing. And it's not kind of getting obsessed with your competitors. It's just thinking about what are other people doing, and how can you be a bit different to that in terms of standing out in colour schemes, or things like that, or how they're doing things. You can maybe tweak things ever so slightly, and it's just getting really clear on what, from their point of view, what makes them different. And then we look at, okay, and then how are we going to communicate that? So what are the keywords that we're going to use to describe that? What are the words that your potential clients are using? How can we mirror those, or how can we really, really get in their heads and really say the right things that are really clear, that makes it really easy and obvious what it is that you do and how you help them. And it's really getting clear on those pain points, and then how kind of it all fits together really in communicating your business.
I like the way you describe that, because really what you're describing is trying to create, or trying to set a tone which really sets a harmonic resonance with your ideal customer. And when you see that working, and it's a very rare thing when it works, but when it works, it just works so well. And I think it's Chris Ducker talks about marketing like a magnet, in order that you attract the best and you actively repel the rest. But when you're marketing in such a way that you're actively repelling a certain number of people, that's quite scary.
No, definitely. And it is. I mean, no one wants to, one, not have anyone like them, or to, feel that they are actually, you said repelling people. But, I mean, it doesn't have to be that strong, but I think, you're absolutely right. It needs to be that you attract the right people, and that you're just not attracting the wrong people, even if it's quite passively, or they don't realise. You don't want to be attracting people that you don't want to work with. So at the end of the day, that's fine. I think it is very scary, but it also makes complete sense. You don't want to work with people that isn't going to work. So you only want to attract the people where it's going to be a perfect fit.
So you're working as an independent solopreneur niche consultant, I guess would be a crude way of putting it. But how did you get there? I mean, this isn't obviously what you've always done. I've had a rummage through LinkedIn and have a vague idea of what you've done in the past. But how did you stumble, probably not the right answer, but how did you niche on niches?
Yeah, exactly. I niched to become, the expert on niching. So I started off back in the day with, the normal jobs in inverted commas. I had marketing jobs. Did that for a few years, more than a few years. Did that for a while, and then decided that I wanted to do something a bit different. So actually, I started my first business, I think it's about 7 years ago now. So I've been working for myself for 7 years, which was something completely different. It was running my own business. It was an online art gallery, so really quite different, although obviously all marketing was a very handy skill to know. And did that, and then it came through that actually I'd get a lot of people in that world, in the art world, asking me to help with their marketing, because a lot of people haven't had any experience in marketing, but they were still doing their own businesses. So I got more into that, and that's kind of, so I ended up coming back into marketing and was really enjoying it. And it kind of, when I actually first started working, I started in the arts and got into marketing, and it was kind of happening again. So I was like, okay, obviously marketing is what I should be doing, and where I'm always being pulled to. So I'm not going to fight it anymore. I'm going to go all in on doing marketing. And so I was working with clients, and at the beginning I was doing quite general stuff. So that marketing, the example earlier of someone doing all sorts of different marketing when they started out, that's what I was doing. I was just helping my clients with all sorts of different things, whether it was to get better on LinkedIn or websites, and I used to do websites and all sorts of things. But what I was finding with my clients is that it was all very well kind of going through the how-tos of how to do social media or whatever, but it was that they weren't really clear on what their business was, their identity of their business, their brand of their business. And that's why they were finding it difficult to know what to say on social media or in their emails or whatever, or how to actually communicate their business. That was the bit that was missing, rather than they weren't good at writing emails. For example, it was that they weren't really sure of their business. So I started to focus much more on helping people, helping my clients get clear on their brand identities. So that was not so much the visuals, the graphics and logos and stuff, but the actual what is it that their business is, why are they different, what's the mission of their business, what are their values, all those kind of things. And so I did that for a while, and then it just started focusing more on niching. So through that, it was a word that people are using a lot. I think when you say brand, I think people automatically, it has lots of connotations, the word brand. I think people can think of logos. They just think of, it could just mean a business. So it was that whole thing that I help people do, is actually, what are people saying? How can I resonate with them more? What are the problems? How can I solve that pain point for my clients? And how can I do it in a way that they understand it even better? And that's where it came about. I actually then made the shift to saying what I do is all about niching. It's not a million miles away from what I was doing when I was calling myself a brand strategist and focusing on helping people with their brands. It's very, very similar. It's that getting that base of what their business is about and how to communicate that is fundamentally what I do and what I have done. So
that makes a lot of sense. And there are a few things that I always try and ask business owners like you. The first one is, you have a skill set, a knowledge base. What's your own process of productization been? Because I know you haven't fallen into the trap, or have possibly climbed out of the trap of the done for you service provider. What was your process and your sort of philosophy around that?
Yeah, so I have had the odd done for you job, and I have helped, but I haven't really totally done that. I've done more consulting where I've gone into businesses and I've helped them with strategies and things like that, rather than necessarily the doing totally 100%. But I think that's maybe more of a nature of what I do. It is more of the thinking, and then it's someone who maybe does social media or does websites that then do the doing. But it's kind of getting that overarching thing, or the core of their business that I've been doing. So I have done a bit of that. I say it's been more consulting going into. I have worked with bigger businesses, more corporates, as well as smaller businesses. But now I primarily focus on small business and helping them get clear on what it is they do. And I think one of the reasons why I haven't really done it as a done for you is that it does need to. I can very much help. I can pull it out. I can advise. But at the end of the day, that it needs to come from the business owner, and no one knows your business as much as the business owner. So I think rather than me just going, I think your niche should be this, or I think your brand identity should be this, and just kind of being quite draconian and saying that's what I think, it needs to come from them as well. So I think that's why I've done more of a done with you, because it just lends itself a lot better to that, because it is their business and they know more about it. But I can just help and tease out or tweak or give them idea or confidence or whatever it is, that they're on the right path.
Yeah. And what are the various engagement models that you offer as standard, so to speak?
Yeah, so my main program at the moment is called Dynamos, and it's my monthly. It's a monthly program, so that's very much based on, as bespoke. It's very much based on what my client wants and what they want to achieve in their business, and it's helping them. Things I was saying earlier about getting really clear on what it is that makes them different, and how they can communicate that, and how they can start to become that expert in their field. And as it is a monthly program, we work on various things, because it does take time. It doesn't. It's not something you can kind of with the implementation. Obviously, you can get the idea, but it's good to have that kind of implementation over time, and seeing how that works. But also, I do have a more intense day program as well, where it's a bit more of a brainstormy day. That's where we kind of get really clear on all the things like, what makes you different, who your clients are, what your clients' pain points are, what words they're using, and how you can describe your business.
And do you have like a group program at all, or does it tend to be you always work one-to-one-ish?
At the moment, I don't. I tend to work one-to-one with my clients, so they get the full focus and the full help on actually helping them with their business. It's all fully focused on them.
Yeah. So a question I'd like to ask everybody is, work comes to us in one of many ways. It comes through inbound marketing, content marketing, that kind of thing. It can come through referrals, or it can come through old school, traditional, analog, outbound marketing, sales basically, sales calls, cold calls, chap in on doors as they call it in Scotland. Is there any one dominates over the others with you?
I would say it is networking, and I think nowadays that isn't the going into kind of business breakfast meetings. It's more online. So I would say that's where I meet the most. That's where I meet most of my clients. I'm just trying to think. Yeah. So I think people have always come across me somewhere first. So whether it's in various groups that I'm in, I've recently done a masterclass in the Atomic group, and that got me to a lot of people, and that kind of that was somewhere where a lot of people came to me through from. But yeah, I think it's just people knowing me online, social media as well, although I think it's all about the relationship building, so I think it's that's where people have come from. Yeah, mainly I'd say networking, but all sorts of different kind of networking and referrals and things like that.
I think a lot of people immediately assume when they hear the word networking, especially if they're of an age, that it is the old school breakfast meetings and golf courses and things like that. I think networking these days, you're right, it's a much broader mix of opportunity. I think people buy from people, and I think it was Gavin Bell said things like video marketing, they really are relationship building at scale. And what they're doing is often influencing the referral journey. Somebody like me is very likely to say, you need to go and speak to Amy because I've built a relationship that's much bigger than my encounters with you through your content. So it's very easy to underestimate the impact of content marketing on networking. And you've kind of highlighted that with your seminar workshop in the Atomic group, which is, it's a very large, it's not a huge Facebook group of 300-400 people, but it is very, very focused. It's very niche. So yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is. It's just meeting people. Yeah, I mean, the word networking is, if someone said to me, do I like networking? I would probably say no. But that's because as soon as someone says that word, you you do think of those really kind of awkward meetings where you've got to talk to people you don't know, and yeah, people are sometimes out just to sell their products and services, and it just isn't the most fun of events. But I think just meeting people online, getting to know people, just how you would, there's no agenda. It's just meeting people and getting to know people. I think that is what is a major bonus of online, really, that you can meet all these people that you would never ever get to meet if it was just down to who you met and who live near you or whatever. It is amazing the amount of people that you can meet, and I think it is a really great opportunity for businesses because, yeah, let's say you could just meet so many different people, and it's just thinking about how you can build those relationships, whether that's through kind of more one-on-one actual talking to people or whether it is through content. And a lot of the time, people who are looking at your content, it ends up you getting to know them and you have conversations with them as well. So it is great. It kind of feels more like that community thing, building, I guess, rather than the kind of, stereotypical networking type vision that you have in your head.
So something I would like to ask you is, obviously you are where you are now with your business. Nobody's ever standing still. Where do you want to take things next?
I think probably more of a long-term plan is to go into that kind of one-to-many model. But I think it would just be seeing how that goes and how kind of get there, because I think the thing I do like at the moment is that I am working one-on-one with people and I am helping them, and I can see how much of a difference it is making to their business, and it is amazing some of the things that my clients have been achieving, and it's so great to see that. So whether that would start to kind of dilute a bit, or whether actually working with a lot of people that could happen to more people. So I think that's kind of something that I'm thinking of, but that's not necessarily something I'm thinking of for this year, or but yeah, that kind of membership model I think is something that I'm thinking about.
And I think you're absolutely right to take your time with that, because it needs an audience to really be worth doing. I think a lot of people rush into membership sites and big fancy products before they really have an audience that's ready for them, and then they fall into the trap of constantly spending money on Facebook ads just to keep a machine fed.
Yeah.
But I know that's not your plan.
No, absolutely. I think people think membership are an easier option because it's a smaller price point, but actually it is much harder. And yeah, yeah, it is something I'm slowly thinking about rather than it's as I say, my goal for this year.
So something I always like to try and rummage around a bit is, especially when people are in the marketing space, which, to be honest, most of my guests are. What does your own marketing look like? I know you've sort of started things with YouTube a little bit, and you have some other plans, but do you want to maybe share a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so I've actually been focusing on a lot more things for 2020. So I've got a brand new podcast that has just started, so that's all very exciting. And that actually comes from, I do a weekly Facebook Live. So I create the podcast out of my Facebook Live. So I've been doing that a while now, and now been converting that into a podcast. All those videos go on YouTube as well. So I am on YouTube, but very much that's not my focus. I've just put the videos on there that are available, but the focus is on the podcast and Instagram as well. I am on social media, Instagram in particular, as that seems to be where I have a lot more of conversations with people. So that's my focus at the moment.
If anybody wants a masterclass in Instagram stories, yours are so vibrant.
Oh, thank you.
And there's so much energy in them. I couldn't do that.
Oh, thank you.
I like Instagram stories, and I try and keep up with dropping stuff in there on a fairly regular basis. But yeah, yours are just so, I can't quite think of the word. Sparkly is the only word I can think of. I hope I'm not embarrassing you.
No, not at all. So I wouldn't have thought I don't actually have any sparkles. It's not all like unicorny and sparkly for those who are listening.
It's very on brand.
Yeah.
That'd be the best way to describe it, because certainly what you see on Instagram stories is the same as you see on the website, and yeah, sort of very energetic, vibrant.
Yeah, I like the bright colours. I'm a bright colour, bold person rather than a pale pink blush gold girl, which you kind of either or. But yeah, on Instagram I do really like stories. I think that's why I've kind of gone down that route as well with Instagram stories. I think it's just a bit more, you don't have to think about it quite so much. It's it allows you to do other things that other social media platforms don't let you do. So which is
and you're not scared of the camera?
No.
Well, I'm terrified.
It seems that way. Like I have the same nerves as everyone else. I just make myself do it. So.
well done. So, Amy, if people want to find out more about you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram. As we've just mentioned, my handle is Amy Caiger Biz. But probably the best way to keep in touch with me is via email. And I have a glorified kind of snazzy sounding mailing list called the Bolt, and you can join that on my website, which is amycaiger.com/the-bolt, and that's the best way. So that's where I can tell you about my podcast, about other little tips and hints, and all sorts of things. So that's where I kind of put all my information. So that's the best way. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you'll be launching a free masterclass quite soon, so it's probably worth getting on Amy's list.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It will be there on my website, so you'll be able to download that, and that's all about how you can confidently niche, and whether you should, so whether that's the right time for you to niche or not. So that will give you lots of help if you are struggling with thinking about, should I niche? How should I niche? What aspects should I be thinking about in doing that? So I give some good pointers in that. So yeah, that is something that is on my website, and that will be amycaiger.com/masterclass.
Amy Caiger, you have been a fantastic guest. Thank you so much for your time. I've learned a lot.
Thank you. I had a great time.
I'll be downloading your masterclass, and I'm sure everybody else will as well. So yeah, thank you, and I look forward to meeting you soon in person.
Cool. Brilliant. Thanks, Bob.
I know from experience how painful the process of niching can be. By saying a big yes to one thing, we feel like we're saying a big, public no to opportunities we possibly still need. Amy pointed out that niching isn't a zero-sum game. It's not all or nothing. It's a journey, not an event, but a journey needs to start. Before I go, just a quick reminder to subscribe, and if you haven't already, to join our Facebook group. It's at amplifyme.fm/insiders. If you're a listener, then I would love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere you'll find me at Bob Gentle. And if you do follow me or connect with me, send me a message and let me know so I can follow you back. If you've enjoyed the show, then I would love for you to review on iTunes. It means a lot to me and it's the best way to help me reach more subscribers. My name's Bob Gentle. Thanks again to Amy for giving us her time this week and to you for listening. And see you next week.